Okay, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. This is Pete Lee with Selling Toronto, and today we've got Richard Tartaglia of the Vine Group. We just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. It's been a very busy 2019, and we think it's going to be a very busy 2020 this year as well too. We're off to a very strong start here in Toronto, and we wanted to talk a little bit about tax planning, about how we could sort of prepare our finances if you're looking to buy more investment properties in 2020. So if you're an existing investor, this is definitely something you're going to want to watch. If you're a self-employed individual, this is definitely going to be relevant to you because we're going to be focusing on these two categories today. And Richard, thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know, he is with the Vine Group, and they specialize in doing multiple investments for investors to help them build their portfolio and even their empire if they so choose, right? So welcome, Richard, and
Absolutely right.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. And, how was your year?
Oh, 2019 was an awesome year. Can't have asked for a better year. It was 2020's got its new, new year, new aspirations, new goals. Everyone's in the same mindset, and I think we're Vine Group. We're essentially I do a lot of real estate investing myself as well as with my clients. We focus a lot on real estate financing, growing your portfolio strategically, and strategies is a huge focus for any real estate investor. It should be if you're focusing on strategy and advice and growing your portfolio in a way that allows you to grow later, like focus on the earlier stages, prepare in the earlier stages so that in later stages you're going to be able to get past that financing wall. That's what it's all about. How do we get past the financing wall? And then, the strategy and the advice as well on the real estate investment side comes from you and excellent, real estate investor focused realtors.
Yeah, I love January's myself. It's a fresh start to the year. You get to press reset and start thinking and planning and dreaming and having your goals set for the year. So today we wanted to actually focus on tax planning, right? Like, nobody really thinks about doing tax planning in January. I mean, people don't even want to do tax planning in April, like the night before everyone's like doing their taxes. So Richard's going to talk today about why it would be beneficial to do your taxes earlier if you're thinking of purchasing property, throughout the rest of the year in 2020. Like, so what are the benefits, Richard, of doing your taxes a little bit early? But disclaimer, first of all, is that neither of us are financial experts. Neither of us are financial advisors or accountants or consultants. You obviously need to consult with your professionals and your other team members, but we're here focused more on how to arrange and prepare and plan your finances. And then for me, it's really about finding the right property for you within, whatever boundaries or guidelines that you have. So Richard, so what are the benefits of doing your tax planning or preparation earlier, like this early in January?
Yeah. So a lot of the time, we do mortgage financing, right? So we'll look at tax documents to qualify mortgages. And a lot of the time, it's looking at those documents after the fact. It's after April, it's after May. They've already done their taxes, and a lot of the time, I look at these T1 generals, which is your tax submission that goes to the government, and then the notice of assessment comes back after the government has accepted your T1 general.
It takes a while for those documents to come to you as well, too, right?
It does. So a lot of those people who are requiring the 2019 income to get into the market, maybe you had a strong year if you're self-employed or you're a real estate investor, and maybe 2018 you had some big expenses, and now 2019 you're kind of smooth sailing, your portfolio's cash flowing and it's looking a little stronger. That could be a reason. Do your taxes early, but do your taxes in a strategic way. It's different for every person, but there's some people who are requiring to show more income to get them into that next property. Nowadays, with the stress test rule, it's a huge focus. The statement of real estate rentals for real estate investors specifically, statement of real estate rentals is a addendum to your T1 general, and it summarizes your maintenance and expenses for each property, your interest costs that went to the bank, the insurance costs that went to the bank, the property taxes, and that net income from your rental portfolio is what we add to your gross income for the application. And
and I think you mentioned that, right? Like sometimes people, like the investors, they forget to add rental income sometimes when they're applying for a new mortgage for a new property, right? So it kind of throws the numbers off a
Yeah.
little bit.
So yeah, there's real estate investors out there that maybe it's an investment property. They'd say it's a secondary home, or maybe it's a basement rental income, and they have some arrangement with the tenant that, uh, you know, it's kind of under the table. That's not helping you.
Mhm.
It's showing now as a full liability on the mortgage, versus being able to include that rental income. The lender is going to ask for. So these are A lenders. A lenders like your Scotiabank, your TD,
Mhm.
your CIBCs, your even like your credit unions like Desjardins and Meridian. They're all going to want to see your T1 General with your statement of real estate rentals, and that statement of real estate rentals will include that rental income. Make sure you claim it, and then when you're focusing on maintenance and repairs, that portion, try not to over claim the actual expenses.
Okay. So to go back to that point, that because it was an important one, because sometimes people try to sort of circumvent the system, right? Like they try to not claim
I mean,
taxes, they try to
yeah,
not claim the rental, and then they end up sort of compensating the tenants so that they don't claim the rental. But the thing is, like tenants, most of the time, like 90 something percent of the time, they're going to claim their rental because it's more beneficial for them. So you don't want to be stuck in a position where you're doing stuff under the table, you're paying them more, and then you can't even boost
I see it all the time.
boost your revenue or your assets, so that you could get higher qualification, right? So
Right.
so what Richard's saying, like, let's try not to circumvent the system, try to report as much as you can.
Yeah,
I've actually had clients in the past who've actually even forgotten that they've had a rental property. Like it's just been sitting there and it's been automatic, like they literally said it and forgot about it, right? Like they just literally
yeah,
forgot about the property. So that does happen. It's not common, but it does happen. And so, I think the idea is, Richard, is that what do we want to do? Like we want to try to make our income as high as possible. Like we want to try to,
yeah.
which
So
means you're going to pay
I,
more tax, right?
you'll pay more taxes, but maybe that extra $5,000 of expenses that you are now. So it's tough to say to give a kind of a blanket solution. What I would recommend is, just be real with your actual maintenance and repairs. Don't overinflate things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really worried about it and you have those 2 or 3 properties and you're trying to get that fourth one, this is when ratios get very tight. And what you can do at that point is get a template done with your accountant on how you plan to submit your taxes. You can have a mortgage specialist, such as myself. I'm happy to look at mock T1 General submissions to see how much you would qualify for before you actually submit your taxes and make it final by getting the notice of assessment. So get a template done. We can look at the actual expenses. You may actually want to not claim some expenses. Maybe it's a difference of $300 1 month that it can make it. We've had deals declined over $2 of income.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
it really is.
$2 and they couldn't get the financing?
Well, it's all about ratios, right? So if it's over 44 and it's 44.01, it could be a decline, and they don't want to do the exception, right? So it's very finicky, and we have to be very careful with how we do those expenses. And for one individual, it may be a difference of like, hey, don't claim that expense. So maybe avoid claiming an expense to get you into a more favorable financing category.
Okay. So, I mean, so in a situation where somebody was like, they couldn't qualify because of $2, so that's probably like an A lender, right? So if they couldn't get the A lender,
Yeah.
then I mean, potentially there is other options available to you, maybe at a higher interest rate or a higher.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not one lender in the A space that will do it, we'll probably find another lender in the A space if it is $2. But if we're already at that top, we're kind of in the A- territory, and then we're looking at potentially having to go to the B side. Then that person's probably looking at higher financing costs around 1.5% over the long term. We can always bring them back to the A space, but the general rule for real estate investors is focus on your start sorting your statement of real estate rentals now. Figure out what those actual costs were. Get your receipts together. Get your leases together. Get it all digitally prepared, because once April hits, your accountant's gonna hate you calling and you know, you're going to be a part of the rest of the crew of people who left it to the last minute.
So a benefit is we're jumping ahead and we're making sure our accountant's not too busy, and we want him to like
Yeah.
us, right? So,
Mm.
that's one. So if we were to sort of recap a little bit, so yeah, so do it early so that you know your accountant doesn't hate you. Do it early so that you have sort of a little bit more of a runway, right? Like we have more time during the
Yeah.
year to actually be able to acquire the property, right? Because like sometimes it takes months for us to gather all the documents, submit the taxes, you know, get an idea from you and from the lender how much you can get. That literally takes months, right? So you need some
Yeah.
time in order to prepare so that you can, you know, have like 8-10 months to buy property.
If you're out there, you had a pre-approval done, and it's an old pre-approval from 2019. Even if you're salaried or you have bonus income or your hourly income,
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting time of year because it's, you know, end of January 2020. T4s for 2019 have not come out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But what we can do, and if you have a pre-approval, and that pre-approval is giving you trouble with the Toronto market, you know, there's bidding wars, and your mortgage specialist should be advising you. They should be calling you at this time of year saying, hey, listen, we did a pre-approval. We based it on 2018, 2017 numbers. If you have some form of variable income, there may be leg room to get your 2019 income considered into that pre-approval.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't necessarily need to wait around for your 2019 T4. We can use your last pay stub for 2019 instead of waiting for the T4, to use your 2019, 2018 income. If there's bonus income included, you need a 2-year history. If you're hourly, you need a 2-year history. So it's more of, you know, if you have a pre-approval, there's a potential for us to up that and potentially get you into that home that you're looking for. So it's not just your real estate investors, you're self-employed. This time of year is important for everybody, including your salary people, hourly, bonus income.
Mm-hmm.
Revise things, get in touch with your specialist, and make sure you're getting all the information you need, because it's a tough market, right?
Yeah.
Prices are up, and especially for buyers. Sellers are loving this time.
Yeah.
On the self-employed category,
yep.
you know, you may not be a real estate investor. You may be self-employed looking to get that first primary residence.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the big banks look for a 2-year history on self-employment. So they want to see your 20, you know, at this time of the year, it's 2018, 2017, because we haven't hit April yet, just for the banks to start requesting the 2019 taxes. So essentially, those self-employed people, make sure that, well, 2019 is done, but going into 2020, make sure you're pulling out your dividends and your salaries, because that's what the bank's going to want to see is what amount of funds that you pull out of your corporation. If you're incorporated, you're sole proprietor, it's a bit of a, you know, it's kind of the income that it is, and you net down your income from your sole proprietorship.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, you know, make sure you pull that money out, because if you don't, the banks are going to give you a very, very tough time. They're going to be then relying on business income. It's totally different rules, and you're most likely going to be in the B space paying a premium on your financing. So get the funds out of your corporation if you're incorporated. I literally had a conversation the other day. They were doing a lot of the expenses on the business card, like personal expenses on the business card, didn't pull out much out of the corporation, and now they're kind of handcuffed.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, we've got plenty of stories from the clients that we work with in our history and our past that we can share with, you know, whoever's going to be contacting us this year. And, you know, definitely self-employed is one of those categories where you have to be a little bit more proactive and start thinking and planning a little bit earlier, because you can massage the numbers a little bit, right? Like you can work things around. And if you had a really strong year in 2019, then you definitely want to do your taxes as soon as possible, so that you know, and you know, you can start talking to financing people such as Richard, right? But if you wait until April and it's too late, and then, you know, by the time you get all your paperwork in order, you're already into like May, June, sometimes even July, and then that's sort of when the market already starts slowing down and you don't get as many properties to look at. So you definitely want to be proactive, especially if you're a self-employed individual. And you know, let's get things going early, and let's start working with the right people so that you can get everything cleaned up, organized, looking beautiful, so that you can, you know, start buying up properties all over the city, right? So
that's right.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's about it for us for today. I mean, we're going to try to
Mm.
keep doing this type of format a little bit more, I think, throughout the rest of the year. It just seems to be easy. And, I think we can add a lot of value to the investor clients or any type of real estate purchaser. Sounds like you
Yeah.
have something you want to add, Richard, or?
I don't usually do like the inspirational quotes at the end of an email. I became
You
that
just
guy at the
started
beginning
doing
of this year.
that.
So my quote, and I won't do it all year because I don't know if I'll see how it sticks, if it's cheesy or not. But it says success doesn't just happen; it's planned for.
Oh, that very.
Planning. This is a very important time of year to get the planning done, right?
Yeah, and I think Richard is an excellent planner. So for any of you guys who are thinking of investing in property or you're about to, but you need help with some financing and you need to arrange and set up everything properly, sort of get your ducks all lined up, then Richard is the person to go to. And then once you guys are all ready and you say, we're ready to look at property, then I'm here for you, right? And we're going to help you buy top appreciating assets. If you're looking for cash flow properties, we can do that as well too. Obviously, it's a little bit challenging in Toronto and the GTA area. Really, we're talking about properties that will appreciate the most. And so we are expecting a very strong year, at least for sure in the first 6 months of this year. It's already off to the races right now in January. So it'll be interesting to see how the spring plays out. But I just want to say thank you to Richard for being on the show and for getting us motivated to do our taxes earlier. I know it's not something that everyone wants to, think about right now, but if the bigger goal is to have, multiple properties and a portfolio of properties, or at least to, buy your second property other than the home that you're in, then you're definitely going to need this type of planning, and you're going to need this type of team to help you make it happen in 2020.
But yeah, thanks for having me on, Pete. It's awesome. Thanks. Always happy to come on your show. It's awesome.
Okay, so yeah, we'll see you guys in another video, and thanks for joining us. And we'll bring you lots of good content. We'll see you guys hopefully in real life soon. Bye for now.